according to our friend Mike Coppinger, Errol Spence will be making his return bout. And this is going to be, I believe it's in August, I think is what the date was given. I have to double check and make sure, against Danny Garcia. So if this holds true, Errol's not getting any sort of like tune-up fight at all. He's jumping right back into the fray if this is the case. And you would think that if this is in August, there's a decent chance, maybe it won't be in August, they're saying in the fall. So I don't think there's an actual, I'm checking to see if there's a date here that he's saying. It doesn't appear. It says it's a Fox pay-per-view, but doesn't really give anything beyond saying that it's the fall. But yeah, he's not gonna get a tune-up fight. So what are your first thoughts about that?
I mean, my first thoughts are, I have it on pretty good authority regarding that PBC is taking a wait-and-see approach.
Okay.
With other promoters. So I know that they haven't been in a rush necessarily to be the first back. They do have the benefit of doing shows on the Fox studio lot behind closed doors. They can actually, where they do Fox on PBC on Fox and, in Los Angeles. So, they have the ability to convert one of those sound stages, studios into a nice, aesthetically looking venue for no audience fight. A fight like this definitely warrants an audience. But I'll say this, I don't think we're going to see boxing in front of crowds until 2021. Yeah. I really believe that. So I really believe that. But this seems very reasonable. We talked about really what potentially could be next for Errol Spence. We knew it wasn't going to be Manny Pacquiao. He'd already fought Mikey Garcia. He already fought Sean Porter. The Terrence Crawford fight would have to be if Danny Garcia needed to be in front of a live crowd, Terrence Crawford needs to be in front of a live crowd. Keith Thurman's coming off the Pacquiao loss, and he hasn't fought. So, everyone's going to have been facing inactivity. And I know Errol's inactivity is a little bit bigger because of the time off and the accident, and he's been out quite a while. This doesn't seem like this is something that couldn't have, eventually he's got to fight. And, at this stage, we there's only a certain level of fighter that he could fight. And so I guess if you're looking at the lesser of all evils, maybe Danny Garcia fits into that program as far as, if you're looking at the welterweight division and who PBC has and who Errol Spence could come back and fight having had a lot of inactivity, I think, maybe Danny Garcia's the fight that gives him the most confidence, guy that doesn't have a lot of movement, a technical guy, but I don't see Garcia giving him a lot of trouble. I think also coming up from 40, I just think that Spence being the bigger guy, it makes sense. And if they're talking about the fall, who knows? So far away. It's so far away, things could change. Right now we just hear so much talk. I've never seen so many guys call guys out before knowing that none of them are fighting anytime soon. So
yeah, I like the fight. I like the fight. I like the concept of the fight. I like the concept of doing it on a Fox studio lot where, they really can take some liberties with making this thing a spectacle, and understanding that it has to be a virtual spectacle more so than making it a thing, and if you're doing it in the fall, then you have all the time in the world to try to prepare to get that thing together. You have all the time in the world to promote it on social media, do all sorts of things that you have to draw as many people as possible. And like I said, I've been saying this for weeks. I'm really wanting and waiting to see which promoter and which network is going to take a chance on a big fight that is pay-per-view level and trying to do it in front of without an audience, and seeing what that looks like. Somebody take one for the team to see whether or not you can, create a different sort of a vibe, because like you said, if we're going to be looking at this throughout the rest of the year, we still got 6 more months left. So you mean to tell me that boxing is going to hold back every really, truly great and appealing fight to the masses for 6 months because the promoter? Say it again.
Might have to happen.
It doesn't have to happen. That might be what they choose to happen because they don't want to, quote unquote, sacrifice whatever they think the live gate is going to be, because they don't want to, because it has to happen, is meaning there's no feasible way to get it done. There's a way to get it done. It's just a matter of, do you feel like you want to take this chance? We've
talked about this. I mean, you and I have debated this, and it's not just about the promoters. You're now asking fighters to take the same risk for less money.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is
nothing changes for the viewing audience.
Nothing changes for the viewing audience at all. That's what I'm saying. The people involved, they have it, because it all depends on who's going to take the.
Can I give you an example?
Who's going to take an example? Well, hear me out first. Okay. What I say, it all depends on who's going to take the hit. Is the promoter going to take the hit? Are the fighters going to take the hit? Then that comes down to who has the most leverage in the whole situation. So if the fighters don't fight,
that pays has the most leverage.
The person that pays, right?
I mean, it's just, look, I'm going through this right now. And so, the people that are paying are the ones that have leverage, and the fighters that are willing to fight on shorter notice or fight out of their weight class because no one's really making exact weights right now. Because everyone's trying to get back and opportunities are presenting themselves, it's going to be that intersection of who can take advantage of opportunity to make the best of it.
So who has the leverage?
Well, I would say the promoters have the leverage right now.
Exactly. Right.
So
promoters have the leverage.
What I'm saying to you is that the world championship fights that we'll see are the ones where the level of fighter and their draw are not even. And I keep going back to Lomachenko. I don't think he sells tickets. You understand what I'm saying? Like his place in the sport as a fighter is much higher than his draw as far as ticket sales.
I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I think it all still comes down to a very basic decision. I'm paying the money. And I make up my mind how much profit I want to make. So if I want to maintain that profit or get as close to that profit as possible, I have to go to the people that I have to pay to make this work. And I have to figure out where I can pay less. And then it comes down to leverage. So if these are the fighters that I'm talking to in this situation, and I have to come to them and I have to present to them, say, hey man, I want to get this done. And I want to get this done for a certain amount of money, and this is what I'm willing to pay. If the fighter is not willing to fight for that, I understand. That's their decision. They choose not to. So then I'm still, as a promoter, I still want to get it done. I still want to get this thing done. So I'm going to keep going down the line until I can find somebody who is willing to do what I'm trying to do. And then at this point, it keeps going this way until the fighters say, because they're not getting paid if they don't fight, until they say, hey, you know what? I'm tired of sitting on the sidelines. What is that offer again? Somebody's got to break. And like you said, the promoter has the leverage.
But there's also yes and no, right? There's like a fine line, because let's take Top Rank. Let's take Top Rank and what they're talking about. They're talking about doing 2 shows a week over the course of 15 shows over 2 months. Okay. 75 fights in 8 weeks, Tuesdays and Thursdays on ESPN, right? That's the rumor we hear. So what they're doing is, and they're doing 5 fights per card, apparently, based on what we've heard them say. So in that scenario, that's 75 fights in 2 months. There are going to be world title fights there. but they won't be the world title fights. There's going to be a lot of optional defenses. So what I'm saying is I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Lomachenko fighting an optional defense behind closed doors. Like when you said, like, who do you think's going to, take the chance? I don't think that some guys are actually taking that much of a hit, because I don't think that that their bottom line to the promoter is that much that it makes a difference. Mm-hmm. Some absolutely do, but I think some don't. So I think like Jamel Herring. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if, love Jamel, but I don't think he sells more than 2,000 tickets to a show.
No.
So, there's a guy that's already talking about defending July 2nd.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and this is pretty much my point.
Right.
You're going to see people fight. And if there's somebody, I think there's like a couple guys who have literally, there's like 2 or 3 guys who have the leverage. And one of those guys is already locked into a deal with DAZN and Golden Boy, where he gets paid a certain amount, period, just flat. Anyway, that's Canelo. Yeah. But there's only like 1 or 2 other guys who have enough leverage to be like, no, if you're going to see me fight, you got to pay me this amount. Almost everybody else is in that situation where they, so it will, I mean, we'll see. I mean, it doesn't, I mean, it's up to them.
Golden Boy is planning on doing a mid-July show with Ryan Garcia. Mm-hmm. Now he does draw. I mean, he does sell tickets.
He does, but this will
be a behind closed door show.
Yeah, yeah. But so this is what I'm saying is they're going to have to fight. I mean, these guys are going to have to fight. Now, what you're saying is we won't see a huge fight because they're going to want to do that. And if you can get by for 6 months if these guys are fighting. I mean, they'll get by either way. They'll get by. If they want to hold out the biggest fights, I mean, as boxing fans, we've been sitting up here dealing without the best fights for decades, sometimes in certain situations, because I mean, there's fantastic fights that we've never seen. Guys' whole entire careers have come and gone because of this kind of stuff. So I shouldn't say this kind of stuff, but because of the promoter greed and all of this different sort of thing and not being able to work with each other, we've seen plenty of fights not happen. So we'll live with it the same way we've lived with it for decades. All I'm saying is it would be nice to see somebody take a chance and say, you know what we're going to do? We're going to put on this fight that we know very well we could wait 6 to 8 months and be able to do it in front of a huge audience, but we're going to do it like this, like right now. And we're going to get it done. We're going to figure out a way to get it done. Maybe you don't cut the fighter pay. Maybe you still pay them whatever you're going to pay them, and you find out another way as a promoter, as a network, to earn. I just don't think there's a lot of creativity being shown right now. And that doesn't shock me because guys are conducting business and not being creative. So
they're also trying to be responsible. They're trying
responsible for their own pockets, which I don't blame them because they're business guys.
Responsible with the fact that, they can't just get up and make believe that there's not a health risk still taking place.
Well, no, that's the behind the closed doors part. So we already got that established. I'm talking about in terms of making money, in terms of how different ways to explore how to monetize their event. I think we got it pretty much in a pigeonholed into this live gate, do some stuff in the center, in the center of the ring and in the corners, and you monetize the whatever little things they pop up on the screen or whatever. That's it, and it's because that's just all that there's ever been done. But I think this is a different time, a different situation, and it calls for a different school of thought. And it doesn't seem like that's happening. I mean, I don't know. We don't know. We have to see what it looks like in June when it comes back. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah, it definitely is. It is. But I think the UFC is proven. And I think this is why the UFC is kind of smacking boxing in the mouth in a lot of ways, because boxing is so rigid and stuck in what it wants to do. And it's a shame because I love boxing more
Yeah,
mixed martial arts.
When you pay your fighters 80% less on average, it's easy to do.
Yeah, you pay your fighters,
and that's a fact.
Oh, it's 100% fact. But
so,
mixed martial artists
when you're
are
paying these guys pennies compared to the boxers. It's
mixed martial arts is those guys are drastically underpaid 100%. But I think it's more than that, though. I think there's more than that. I think that the uniformity does not have to be 100% consistent with the underpay. I think there's a way that uniformity, which is what makes the UFC a little bit more attractive to somebody than maybe boxing is. I think the uniformity can exist without drastically underpaying people the way the UFC does. That's their own greed. Everybody's greedy. That's their portion of the greed. But it's just kind of
have the numbers, Brian. I'm going to write a Forbes story this afternoon.
Yeah, about how underpaid they are.
No. That talks about what boxing can expect based on the data that I have from the UFC shows.
Yeah.
UFC shows did great. Like I told you, gave them kudos earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It was fantastic to see live combat sports taking place on television.
Mm-hmm.
Fighters will adapt to no audience. There were still good fights. It didn't seem like anyone was lost because there wasn't an audience.
Nope.
It's set things in motion where boxing's looking to come back and promoters are looking to be very aggressive. I would say that Top Rank doing 75 fights in 60 days is pretty aggressive.
Yeah. That's pretty aggressive. I don't know how many shows that is.
It's 15 shows.
15 shows. Yeah, that's pretty aggressive.
With world title fights too. So
So we'll see.
Not the ones that we want to see, like the mega fights, but we will see fighters we want to see. But it's still, like I said, it's still a fluid situation.